Uh, What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Catherine Yancey. Welcome to K.D.Y Live. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe to DISCO100 Radio on YouTube. And we're talking today. I'm sorry that happened to you, and it is something that's pressing on me to discuss in particular because I had a person I met this week, and they lived this situation, and they were actually going to the funeral of someone who had lived a situation similar. So my guest today is DISCO100. What's up, Disco? How are you?
Excuse me. What's going on? I lost
Uh,
my voice.
you lost your voice? Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing your voice this morning. DISCO100. It's so kind of just stepping in the last minute. We had a cancellation this morning,
It's
so
all
I
good.
appreciate you showing up.
I'm a little shy, so.
Oh, I know.
All
Right. That was said with the deepest sarcasm. Okay, so all jokes aside, I was working this week and I had a walk-in client, and she was young, in her 20s, almost 30. She had 5 kids,
right.
and she was telling a little of her background. People just naturally gravitate to me when it comes to just open communication. So wasn't necessarily, pulling for any kind of information or anything. She was on her way to a funeral. So the funeral was for someone who had died at the hands of a boyfriend. Or let me rephrase that. The boyfriend had died at the hands of the girlfriend.
So she flipped it.
She did flip it. So, and the other thing was, the young lady stated that this was her second funeral she was attending in 2 days. So she had funerals back to back days. Both of them weren't for a horrific event. One of them was a family member passing, and they had an understanding that it was coming soon. So, actually, no, it was sudden. I think the family member had a illness that required oxygen, and because of COVID delays, they were late getting her oxygen. She went to the hospital. They released her from the hospital without oxygen, knowing she didn't have oxygen at home. And before they brought her oxygen, actually, the day she died, they were taking her out of the home dead as the person was delivering her oxygen. Crazy, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot of stuff going on with COVID besides just getting COVID. It's crazy out here. But back to the subject at hand. I'm sorry that happened to you. And it really seems lately for sure that I seem to be saying I'm sorry for your loss on posts, responding to posts, more than congratulations and happy birthday.
Mm.
I think I'm saying that a lot more these days, and it's really alarming to me. I am very sensitive to the fact that it feels like these are changing times. What do you think about that? Is that an observation that you're seeing as well?
I think love is so blind on both sides
Mm-hmm.
that people don't want to see the red flags or recognize red flags.
Absolutely, and I can
And
attest to that personally as
and
well.
then a lot of times they feel like it's a joke. I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's funny to them. Like you may have, for example, a female may say, "Man, girl, he just pulled up on me out the blue. He's so crazy,"
Yep,
like a
a joke. He
you know.
crazy for real.
And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, a guy may say, "Man, bro, she just she was in the parking lot of my job, man, just want
Mm-hmm.
to surprise me, man. She,
Right. She
you
wanted
know,
to surprise. She's stalking.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So
Mm-hmm.
people don't pick up the red flags from the very beginning and get to that point.
Absolutely.
So
I definitely agree with that. I think that abusive people know how to cover up their nature to some extent in the beginning, just to draw you in. And they'll be the nicest person that you have ever met initially. I think you said red flags.
mhm.
One of the red flags I think that happens often is people want to jump in a relationship immediately, or they're talking about marriage immediately. They're like, I can't live without you. I can't see myself without you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of times, people who are seeking attention and validation are flattered, as opposed to like, whoa, hold up, you don't even know me. How you know you want to be with me? You don't even know me. So, what do you think about what may be some red flags in your from your perspective as a man?
You mean from the fall in love too quick?
Yeah. Or just accepting anybody who wants to love you. You don't have to be open to anybody who is open to you.
Good question, because a lot of people just stuck on titles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a lot of women that are just can't wait to go to work and say, I got a husband,
Yep.
or I got a man. Don't know him from night to day. Don't know how he treat his mama. Don't know how he treat his kids. Don't know how he treat people around him. They just looking at the eye candy of them, or the splurge, the finances.
The aesthetics, the outside appearance.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
we already live in a competition world as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So people are already competing in other ways. So
whether it's said or not.
correct. So
Mm-hmm.
the other competition is pretty much, you got a man, so let me go ahead and find me one, pretty much. So they go somewhere, meet a dude, he got a little gift to gab. And you go to work the next day, I got this, I got that. Don't have nothing to do with the guy. Don't know anything about him past the bar.
Right. And a lot of times, like you said, the red flags will show up.
Yeah.
And we just tend to overlook them,
Or think we can change it.
or think optimism and hope
Correct.
will keep you hanging on to the wrong thing for sure.
Correct.
I think
Said
I
it
posed
perfect.
that question earlier this week. What keeps people in a relationship that's not going to last for too long, that they know it's not good for them for too long?
Like you said, hope.
Mm-hmm.
Hope.
Yeah, that was one of the top answers.
Yeah.
I think women naturally think that they have the ability to cause change in people. They want to see the best in people. Most women, obviously, there's always an exception. Um, but the only person that can change a person is that person. And from my perspective, God. Everybody doesn't believe in God, and that's fine. But you can't do it, is the point.
So anybody?
Yeah, it's not gonna be because of you.
Yeah.
A person can get motivated because of you. However, it won't be a forced change because of you. They have to do it for themselves. Otherwise, it's very temporary. Because if you're doing things to please other people, then it's not like a part of your DNA. It's not really who you are. So you eventually go back to who you are. So to be susceptible to someone who is not good for you, a lot of times there is a lack of self-love and approval of self, and you're looking for that, or open to it, even if you don't think you're looking for it, from somebody else, anybody else. If your parents weren't there to say, hey, you're beautiful, hey, I believe in you, hey, I support you, the first person that comes along and says, hey, you're beautiful, hey, I believe in you, hey, I support you.
Brainwash.
Oh, absolutely. And some people can mean it, and that be who they are.
Correct.
However, especially if it's coming along too soon, probably not the case.
But you know what's sad, and I hate to say this.
Okay.
Women, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're a man.
A man can recognize an insecure woman,
How?
and he can capitalize on it.
That was my point I was getting to as well. They know who they can do it with.
And then I got a famous word I always say on my show is leverage.
Okay.
Leverage.
Uh-huh.
A man can figure out how to get leverage on a female and just manipulate them from leverage.
Uh-huh. And explain leverage a little bit more.
Leverage is pretty much put them in a predicament where they have to leverage on them, meaning they got the upper hand. Like, let's say, for instance, this is a true story.
Okay.
We're talking about sorry to have
Yeah.
In my past, I used to like women that I seen at the bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time I had a car. Well, I still got a car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but go ahead and break it down. Somebody needs to hear this.
I had a flashy car, old school car with the music. I have decent looking in, so.
You still have decent looking.
So, So I used to like, I knew I had my stuff together, and I figured my mindset was ignorant. So I felt like if I seen a woman at a bus stop,
Yep.
she going through some things, blah, blah, blah. So I pull up.
Or
And
at least she's not on my level.
yeah. So,
Okay, but go ahead.
and I use my car, I use me being financially able,
Mm-hmm.
providing stuff for her that I knew she wasn't getting. And it was the leverage I had on her.
Mm-hmm. And it don't even have to be providing too much. It's just more than what you get.
So that's what I'm saying about fellas. We can recognize or think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we right, sometimes we not, but
right.
Leverage. And we get leverage on the female by their insecurity, and we feed off of that.
So how do you figure out the insecurities? How do they show up?
Conversation, first of all.
Listen, ladies, he's telling y'all some stuff.
Conversation, because she'll tell it. Because a lot of women put it out there because they want to sell you on it, not realize it's gonna hurt you.
Because you just collecting information at this point that you can turn around and use
how
you
you
want
everything
to.
For a sympathy standpoint.
Like what?
Like maybe my kid's father not in my life, never done nothing for me, or my parents put me out, or I just lost my job. You put it out there for to gain the sympathy as far as affection. Now some guys can be genuine and don't abuse it, but some guys be like, you know what?
She weak.
She can't even pay a bill. Let me go and pay this phone bill for her.
A phone bill. I was waiting on you to say just how little you have to do to do more than what she's getting.
It's for her. That's okay. My phone gonna give every month now. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I was thinking that same thing when I touched on it. Doesn't even have to be a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like we got some tennis shoe girls out here. You know what I'm saying? All you got to do is give me a pair of shoes, and oh, you love me.
Yeah.
You know, and the guy's not thinking that way at all. What the guy thinking? Some guys, now some people can be genuine.
I'm gonna say some,
but go ahead. It's always some.
Because that's a boy move. That ain't no man move. But now get me wrong, there's some old school cats that do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a guy ask me, did I want some tennis shoes? And I was well in my 30s. No, sir, I don't. I can absolutely get my own tennis shoes. Do you even see me wearing tennis shoes first off?
And you gotta, like I said, you gotta understand it's not okay. This is a catch-22.
Okay.
Because the myth is most men out there ain't being a man.
And we're talking about how they drawing you in for this love you to death.
That's what I'm saying. So basically, a lot of guys pitch that because it's the common thing. A man's not doing that for you. So sometimes it can be genuine. Meaning,
absolutely.
So sometimes a woman coming from a relationship, a guy not doing nothing. So a guy may recognize that or know that and say, you know what? Let me offer this small stuff at first and build myself up. Let's see how she act when I do the small stuff. But the bad side of it, a dude can buy you some shoelaces and pay a metro bill, and now you think he can get a piece of you.
And unfortunately, people are given a piece for nothing. Yeah. That's where that self-love, that value of self, the self-worth, all of that stuff comes into play. Because, and I must say, when I was young, for sure, you know, I was out there doing
you was grown.
I had a baby by the time I was 17, and my daughter's father is 7 years older than me. So obviously, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying right now, as far as because he didn't have a whole lot, and no disrespect at this point, but knowing what I know now as a grown woman and mature, I would have never, ever even dated him, period.
Let me ask you a question. Since it's your show, I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Personal question. That situation right there, I always wanted to know this from a female perspective. When you said 17 and he's 7 years older, was it because of lack of a father in your life?
I didn't have as close of a relationship with my father. My parents divorced when I was 8, so that's probably like the 3rd grade or something like that. I was very rebellious at a young age. Of course, I had have exposed that I had sexual inappropriate relationship at an early age. So all of those things combined probably let me be more free sexually and, you know, feeling more mature because you're exposed to more than you should be exposed to at a young age. And it kind of, I would think, changes the way you develop and what you navigate to. So I don't think it's necessarily just my father not being in the home. I think it is a combination of a lot of things, being depressed, not having a whole lot of sense of self-worth. I was confident, yes. However, obviously looking in hindsight, I was not able to communicate what I really wanted as far as relationship exchanges goes, because I wasn't really groomed in communication at home as a child.
Mm.
Um, so I was more likely to get into a situation that I didn't want to be in sexually, because I didn't have the skill set to say no, or skill set to think that it wasn't my fault or that I'm in the position now and things of that nature. So it's very important that parents teach their kids to communicate properly, allow them to say no when they don't want certain things. Of course, do it in a respectful way when you're dealing with your parents and things of that nature. But I didn't really have the skill set of being able to say no.
So was it more the security blanket you seen in this man at the age he was at?
No, I just was attracted to the shell.
Okay.
And
Okay.
people show you what they want to show you,
Yeah.
and at a young age you're immature, you don't even know what you're looking at anyway, but you're trying to be grown, and
It's yeah.
can't nobody tell me nothing, and they sure couldn't, and you get what you get.
Yeah.
So I got a beautiful daughter. She's 25 now.
And
And I have a whole lot of information that I don't mind sharing with people, so they don't make the same mistakes that I did. So I truly don't mind being transparent in my mistakes in life. I was very strong-willed about doing what I wanted to do. And that was probably the rebellion built up on all those things that I mentioned before.
mm-hmm.
So you just never know, it's usually not just one reason why something happens in someone's life or
Yeah.
why they go a certain way. It's usually a whole lot of things built up and combined to make them who they are and go the path that they go. So don't judge people because you don't know what the background is. It's impossible to know all the pieces that fit into somebody's puzzle. And but I can say that I I probably had a lack of respect um for my mother.
Mm.
Um I I was angry with her for some years in my teenage years. And so it's probably some rebellion um from that angle as well. Cause she definitely was like, no. And when she found out, of course, we was sneaking around. But she was definitely like, no. And I didn't respect her no because she don't know what she's talking about, and that's probably from the poor communication that we had with each other. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of stuff that made me make the choices that I made that boil down to, that's the choice I made. At the end of the day, it's not anyone else's fault that I ended up in the position. I think people get stuck with the blame game where they make all these decisions, and now it's my mama fault, oh it's my daddy fault, oh it's my baby daddy fault. Oh no, it's not. You just pick up the pieces that you have in front of you and you put them back together however you see fit to put them back together to make you stronger and go forward and not do the same things and help somebody else not do the same things. Go ahead.
So what do you think is the most common
Mhm.
red flag that women don't see in a relationship?
um I think abusive people, the red flag would be that they're perfect. They are not perfect. They will present the perfect picture to you.
Meaning the guy would present he perfect. Okay.
Absolutely. And you're like, oh man, I just can't believe that, God saw fit to send me this perfection. Um, yeah, they're probably not being real transparent.
I know. I heard that. I never heard my homeboy say that line right there. That I'm perfect. Come holler at me.
No, nobody will say it.
Okay.
But they'll present themselves.
I
Like
got
you
you.
saying, the women will present all the woe is me. But the man presents all of the I got myself together. I'm a good God fearing man. I love my mama. My family is great.
That's the most
And
common
then
one though.
what's that?
And no disrespect, nobody that speak about the Lord and Jesus.
Oh,
That's the one. That's
absolutely.
this big. That's the big sell pitch.
Yeah.
And like my grandma raised us, you shouldn't have to announce that to me.
Yeah, I
should
should be able to
how
see
you
it.
walk, how you walk your
hmm
life. So
hmm
that's the first red flag for me.
I agree that a lot of people will use God
Even with the
to,
friendships.
yeah, use God to get your guard down.
Yeah,
They
That,
will use God to get you God. And as a matter of fact, I love God. Everybody know I love God.
that part.
But it really puts my antenna up
Mm-hmm.
when somebody leading with God on every line. I'm like, yeah, something a little off with you, and it's usually you trying to cover up what's not so godly,
Right.
And then my pastor told me one time I was discussing someone with him, and he made me remember that there is a spirit of religion.
Mm.
So people will falsely go for it in that spirit to throw you off so that they can do any work that is not godly. And you be sucked in because you think, oh, they so God, they love God, they say they prayers, they go to church. Oh my goodness. And in the meantime, when they finish sucking you in with that, they turn into the whole opposite of whatever they done showed you.
You know what's so funny about what's not funny, you may not this, but
Okay.
the line of work I do
Mm-hmm.
is a attractive woman that ride the front of my
Okay.
charter bus.
Mm-hmm.
And she always,
And this is a public driver job for
Correct.
those who are trying to figure it
Correct.
out. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and she leaves a Bible on her lap every day in the morning.
Yeah.
An attractive woman, but she leaves the Bible on her, but she don't even read it.
Mm-hmm.
She leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I asked her,
Mm-hmm.
just being shy, the shy person that I am.
Oh, I'm so shy.
Yeah, I asked her, I said, I noticed all these days you got the Bible, but you don't read it. So I thought maybe it was some kind of ritual she does.
Okay.
And sadly, she said she does it to keep the men away from her.
Oh, interesting.
Because she said, when a man scared of the Lord or scared of God, and he knows she reading to the Bible, he's not going to approach her.
That's interesting. I think that may work for some people, but I think people be up for the challenge too. So okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's found a method that works for her, I've heard people say that they wear rings for the same reason, and they aren't married. But
Well, what is that for?
they said to let people know that they're not available. They don't want to be bothered. However, I know a lot of married people that say they get more play when they're married. They're not married.
Let me tell you something. I haven't had 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And I'm not no Denzel, nobody, but I get less. I get approached less now without a ring than when I had one on.
Well, that's a subject for another day because I know people who have serious conflicts about not wearing a ring. But that's a subject for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, people want what they can't have. So if you're already taken, meaning I'm supposedly can't have you, then
it's a challenge.
The challenge. People want what they can't have. I heard somebody say one time it's like going to a restaurant that don't have a line. Like, do I really want that food? Like, why you don't have a line?
Wow.
Nobody wants you. Yeah.
Well, I heard T.I. say the same thing. He said no. He said no woman don't want a man. Nobody else don't want.
Well, honestly, I dated the guy one time, and he got caught, trying to do extra stuff. And when I looked through the messages, I was using the computer for something and the screen was up with the messages or whatever. So yeah, I wasn't prying for it. It was just like, ta-da! And I was like, oh. So yeah. So when I looked through the messages, the people, multiples, weren't interested in him. And I was like, I don't want to be with the person don't nobody want.
Yeah, I heard it too.
Like you were. Yeah, over it.
Yeah.
So, like, how you gonna be trying to do something don't nobody even want you? Like, why am I with you? Don't nobody else want you? So yeah, that was that.
So we talked about the subject, right? I asked you another question. When you said it started happening to you,
yes,
do you get caught getting involved in friendships that's going through that stuff, and you get tired of giving them the same advice, and then it leads to something crazy like that? And how do you feel then?
You mean lead to something crazy like some physical abuse or something like that?
You telling the person like, okay, come on, just come on this side.
I don't get involved anymore. When I was very young in high school, I had a friend, and she was in an abusive relationship in high school, and she was publicly disrespected and touched put them hands on her. And I approached the guy because I'm real shy, right? So I approached the guy and go off on her behalf, but not ever. And she was with him the next day. So at an early age, I learned to not get involved when it comes to people's love life, no matter how toxic or traumatic it is. Because people gonna do what they want to do, and then you end up being the one in a situation that wasn't even your situation.
Correct.
You know, so I pray for them. Absolutely, I would talk to them whenever they, want to divulge or share or vent or whatever, and without judgment, because you don't know all of the background pieces. Like I was saying with my story, you don't know all the background pieces that go into them being that person.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important to be able to listen without judgment.
So is it fair to change? Is it fair to say somebody can change? And
Anybody can change at any time. They don't even have to be trying to change to change. I absolutely have a situation with myself, and I come to these understandings because of revelations with myself.
mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, in the depressed state that I was in, it was a real dark black place, angry place. I was not. I was very off and on. My mother called it like hot and cold water.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you can be this 1 second and you're this the next, and I very much was that.
That's bipolar. Or that's how it goes.
It could be diagnosed as bipolar if that was the case, or I was just acting out in anger and
Like
aggression.
said, yeah.
So I don't know what it was. Obviously, I didn't get a diagnosis back then. I was diagnosed with severe depression in my early 20s, and I'm sure it started back before I actually went in and was analyzed and evaluated. But people can absolutely change at any time. I know this because when I was in that dark place where I was homicidal and suicidal as a teenager, and we're talking about before 15, 16, I could have, it started out initially as homicidal, no, suicidal. I didn't feel heard or recognized, and it's bigger in my head than it was in real life in hindsight. But when you're going through it, it's just big, it's dark, it's you can't see past it, you can't feel past it. And I understand that. And people be like, why don't you just get up? Because you can't get up. Why don't you just, it's usually not that simple when you come into a mental situation. So I went from being suicidal to homicidal. The thought process was, instead of taking out myself, I'll just take out everybody who's making me feel this way. Um, then one morning, after a long time of feeling this, like it could have really happened, I woke up and the sun was just shining bright, and I just felt like a new person without doing anything but waking up. Um, I know at that moment, I had a moment of clarity where I could make a decision if I was going to be remaining in that negative, dark place, or if I was going to go forward and be positive and be a source of light. And I made a decision to no longer be negative. I had the understanding that it takes the same amount of energy to be positive and be negative. You can't do both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the decision, the conscious decision in that moment of clarity to go the other direction. Now, I did nothing to get to that place. I just woke up one day. A lot of people say they were praying for me. And I believe that the intercessory prayer works.
So do you think the next relationship, if not none right now,
Okay.
do you think that's going to take a harder toll for you to accept? Like, what I'm getting at is, let's say you have a zero tolerance right now, right? Because
a zero tolerance for abuse.
Just any sign you believe going to happen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So do you think that it may be a good guy out there who may not be perfect, right? It may have a small flaw, but because of your past, now he won't get a second chance to make it up or say or prove that he's gonna be somebody different.
I think people show you who they are, And like Maya Angelou said, believe them. Um, I think that for me, I have been in situations or relationships that logically you should leave, and um, nobody would fault you for it. Like enough has happened where you should leave.
So you're not taking no chances.
I'm not saying that.
Oh,
So the part B of that is I've stayed in some situations past that because I didn't feel like God cleared me to leave yet.
okay,
So when I get that clarity, God be like, yeah, you can go.
okay.
Then I will leave. Although it may be 6 months before then where I had enough and I should have left according to the situation. But I don't move by, I try not to even move by what I want to do. You never know the bigger purpose and the bigger picture. And I try to walk in obedience to what I feel God is leading me to do. I pray and I think that my steps are ordered. And I think that not everybody is going to have, nobody is going to have a perfect life, a perfect walk. Sometimes I may get it wrong, but I'm going to do what I feel like I'm led to do, regardless of what it looks like sometimes. And sometimes the outcome is going to be something beautiful that you never could have imagined. And sometimes the outcome is going to be something ugly that you never could have imagined. However, I think I'm graced for all seasons and all situations in life, and everything happens for a reason. So I try not to take things personally, regardless of what happens. And I think that allows me to just roll with the punches, so to speak.
Mm. That's a good answer. I mean, never had that answer before.
Oh, okay.
It's always been, no, I ain't gonna deal with that because my girlfriend dealt with that. I ain't gonna do that because I dealt with that 5 years ago. They never said what you said. I'm going by what God
Yeah.
gonna lead me to do.
I never at this point say what I will do. A never. I'm not a never person anymore. I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never do that. They'll never do. I'll never stand for that. I'll never. That very thing that you judge will usually find itself back to its way back to you or someone close to you, and then we'll see what you're really gonna do.
Mm.
You know, because if you say what you never do, you really never know until you have to do it. And I don't care how much you prepped for it. When life happens for real, sometimes your response is the opposite of what you thought you would have done. So I try not to judge because yeah, I understand that at any given time my life situation can change and I can be facing that same thing that I'm judging.
Have you ever had a friendship with someone that you seen it going downhill, and you said, you know what, I'm not gonna be involved, and then the end results, you wish you would have got involved?
Um, like I say, I usually don't have regrets. I do everything that I feel I'm led to do in situations. So I think I've exhausted everything I could have exhausted if I was supposed to. Um, and I don't really live with regrets. I only worry about things that I have control over. I don't have control over the past, and that's a learned thing. I used to most definitely when I was younger worry about everything, and I don't know if worry is the right word, but try to fix everything and try to have the answer for everything.
Be cautious about everything.
Yeah, I'm still cautious.
Okay.
I don't think that we gain knowledge not to be cautious.
Yeah.
You know, so I just don't think that there's a b c d answer or path to everything.
And so when you came over the title of the show, right?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this. I just haven't.
Okay.
I'm glad I'm in this position to ask you.
Uh-huh.
How important do you think it is for people to just come out and get it out of their system and talk about stuff they've been through?
For their survival and for their health, it is very important. It's not about anybody else. It is extremely important for you to operate in your full capacity of love and power. It is most definitely important to just get it out. It doesn't matter if anybody acknowledges it. It doesn't matter if anybody supports it. It doesn't matter if anybody agrees with it. Your truth is your truth. Okay. So to just not live in the bondage of hiding your truth is a powerful thing. To not live for the acceptance of somebody validating your truth is a powerful thing. So to operate in your full capacity of whatever your purpose is, Your power is just talking and shedding those layers of whatever you holding on to that you don't have to hold on to will allow you to do so much more and go so much faster to your goals in life.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
I'm taking it in.
It's something that once you experience it, you're like, wow, I didn't even know I was weighed down.
Mm. Now, does it take that right person to talk to, or just somebody?
It doesn't even take anybody. You can write it down on the letter. You can, if you want to talk to somebody, some people don't like to get involved with people they know personally. You can go on a professional level and do counseling. The point is to get it out and to be honest, because underneath all of those layers of cover up is your true self. And you don't even know your true self until you can get rid of those layers of what you've been covering up. Because what you are is everything that those layers have made you until you get them off.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah. So that just comes from living for a period of time in silence and then getting to a point where I'm no longer a I'm no longer a I don't want to say victim, but subjected to being oppressed by what other people's standards and things are for their lives. You know, they especially older people, and I love older people. They're full of wisdom, but they come from a generation where hiding things is just how they survive, and they try to pass that down because what we do to our offspring is pass down survival skills. You know, that's how we survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're passing down things that aren't healthy though. You
Mm-hmm.
can survive, but are you surviving this in a healthy way? You know, that's like being married and you're married for 50 years, but none of the years are good years.
Mm.
You know, you're just living. You're just married.
The title.
Yeah,
The
exactly. So, yeah, for I'm sorry that happened to you. It is so important to just take the chance on yourself to just be there for yourself. In business, I say you can't come, and I don't know if this is a good analogy. We'll see when it comes out. But I say you can't come to me and ask me to support um what you're doing until you've put all in to support what you're doing.
You said a mouthful because I made a comment. I'm not gonna say well,
Okay.
but it's real recent,
Uh-huh.
and I said it in that what you just said. I can't care more about your situation than you care about your situation.
Right. And I say it from the angle of I know people who will say you just don't know what I've been through, and they use that as a valid excuse to
Correct.
stay the way they are and not make any changes, and it's other people's fault. You're right, I don't know what you've been through, but if you wanted me to know, you can actually say it. You know, so you really don't want me to know. You're just using that at this
Well,
point.
that's gonna always be in their pocket, so they can use it all the time.
Yeah, and it has to be a maturity thing and
Yeah.
a personal development thing where you're ready to stop the blame game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the buck stops with me. For my future generations, I want to give them this survival skill. I don't want them to be subjected to harboring things that are painful uh, in the name of survival.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a better way to survive. I understand people did what they had to do to survive with some abusive situations, but we're training people how to continue to be abused, and that's not right.
How do you say that? How you?
Because we teach them not to open up and talk about it if it happens. If a lot of people are getting blamed for it happening, if it is happening, there's an excuse for the abuser trying to protect them more so than protect the person that they abused. So instead of putting Johnny or Kim in jail for molestation or pedophilia, we want to say, hey, you shouldn't have been wearing that. What were you doing over there at Johnny's and Kim's? You
Mm-hmm.
know, no, Johnny and Kim did something wrong,
They
and
should be
John,
punished.
exactly, not this child did something wrong, or anybody. It can be an adult. You know, he got a drinking problem. Well, why you make him mad? Uh, yeah,
And
no, let's
it's
stop
you.
shifting the
Yeah,
blame.
it's usually somebody close to that person.
Absolutely, and they know
Yeah.
who they are. They know the monster
Yeah.
that they are,
Yeah.
but they would rather cover it up than to expose it for what it is and make you the problem, and not make them deal with themselves. So they continue to do the same things over and over, and it gets worse and worse because the more you get away with, the more comfortable you are at doing whatever you're doing, and the more efficiently you learn how to do it because you have practice now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's like me learning reading comprehension. When I first started reading it kindergarten, it may take me a minute to get it together, but now I'm college educated. I can zip through it and I got it. So when people have had practice over years of abuse, then or being abusive, they have learned how to do it so much more efficiently, where they're not, on the radar to get caught now because I learned how to cover this up because I had a chance to do it 50 times because nobody told me I couldn't do it down here. They covered for me, you know. So we never know the scope of what they've done as they're getting more and more comfortable doing what they're doing.
And what I be worried about, I got a lot of partners of mine. I got a lot of friend females,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm always worried about with them is I think they been through something
Mm-hmm.
with a terrible person,
Yep.
and any little mistake the new person make, they just cut them off. And I feel like sometimes those people can be the best thing for
Mm-hmm.
them, but because of what they experienced in the past,
Yeah.
they have no trust, they have no tolerance, they're very too cautious. And I don't know if that's a fair
Uh-huh.
way to feel about it,
Uh-huh.
because like I said, I got a lot of friend females of mine who are
Yeah.
gorgeous females, but every little thing a dude does, that's that.
I'm the same way.
Okay.
My daughter will tell me, she'll actually, if I'm starting to talk to someone, she'll say, let me just talk to them to let them know, you know what I'm saying? So they'll have a chance. I'm like, if you know what you know. You know, if they present them red flags, then you don't have to keep doing it for me to get it.
That's what I'm saying. You see, you're seeing a red flag. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it may not be not just it may just be
Mm-hmm.
no disrespect to you. It just may be your antennas are so up
I understand what
that
you're
any
saying.
little small thing this dude do, it can,
Give an example of a
okay.
small thing.
Let's say he may call you 3 times within 2 hours just to check up on you, and that's not what you're accustomed to. Or the last dude that did it called to see where you was at,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so he can pull up on you and accuse you, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it be. This guy may be doing it genuinely,
Yeah.
to say, hey, babe, I may bring some lunch to you where you at, but you take
Yeah.
it. So what I'm saying is it can be twisted.
Yeah. I definitely understand. I have a situation where I don't require something I used to require because somebody abused it. And then I'm like, yeah, that was just for show. Nobody ever has to do it again. And I'll give you that example in a moment. But I think that there has to be a growth in time thing where you're learning the person.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're learning the person, then you all can get to that point where everybody's comfortable with everything without thinking that it's something else other than what it is. But people's experiences are valid. So if you are really trying to learn them and grow with them, then you it's a timepiece there that allows you all to get on the same page. So if I say, I don't like to be called 3 times in an hour, and you want to call me 3 times in an hour, that means you're not listening to me. So that will be a red flag for me, that if you're not listening with this something as simple as this, you're not going to listen with something bigger. And I did have a person who I cut off for something as simple as that. They wouldn't call me by my name. They wanted to call me baby, sweetie, and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know you like that. It's a growth period. It's a time thing. In time, if you're my man, you can call me those things. But at this point, it doesn't sound good to me. I just want to be called by my name. And so he refused to do that. And it was from his perspective, just terms of endearment. I like you like that, but you can't force that on me. I don't like it.
Wow.
So because he wouldn't stop doing it, then he got cut off. Yeah. So it's, if you respect the person, you listen to them, and you learn in time what you all, over time. Like I said, if he had ended up being my my boyfriend, or someone I was dating monogamously, then by all means those things are fine, but we're not there.
Hmm.
Okay, so don't force it on me. I don't like anything forced.
So you at that, I see you at that point.
Yeah, so I just pay attention to
Yeah.
things, because if I'm telling you now to just call me by my name and you won't do that,
Simple stuff.
when I'm telling you something else that relates to us buying properties together or something big in business, you're not listening. And this is going to be a harder situation for
point.
us.
That's a good point.
So I just avoid things that are presenting themselves that I know I don't want to deal with.
And that's how I am right now with friendships.
Uh-huh.
I'm the same way. Like, I hate to say it, my circle is getting smaller by the day as I get older.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked somebody, I said, is my temper getting worse, or I'm just getting to that age that I just can't deal with the nonsense? Like, if I know how you feel about me, it's not genuine. I'm to the point now. Just don't even.
I was talking to my daughter about that yesterday. And she was saying how someone she knows has to cut off some personal relationships just because they're not showing up in the relationship how they should be showing up. And it's kind of like, yeah, you're not really for me. And so I'm like, yeah, I mean, you have a right to have what you want in your life, and you should be surrounded by positive people. If you don't feel like they're for you, I don't care how they were introduced into your life, family, been friends since kindergarten. I don't care. If they not for you, if you don't feel like they supposed to be in your life, you have the opportunity to shape your life and the people in it however you want to. This is your life. So don't worry about hurting their feelings. I'm sure they'll go on to do whatever they're doing somewhere else, and they'll be just fine. They'll find another audience for whatever the show is they're bringing. you know so don't hold yourself hostage to try to have people in your lives that may have outgrown you, or you outgrown them. It happens. And everything, I feel like I said previously, happens for a reason. Your steps are ordered. So don't be trying to hold on to the past, and then now because you're holding so hard to the past, you can't get to your future.
Mm.
There's no room for it. So yeah, I forgot the point I was going to say about
Sorry.
no, I said I was going to say it about you said the girls are paying too much
Yeah, because what I'm talking about it, it may bring it back up in your
Okay.
mind. It just cut me off if it does.
Uh-huh.
What I was saying was that a lot of women come on these shows. Again, I deal with a lot of models for my shows. I do my promotion stuff, and a lot of them always say, Disco, I can't tolerate this. I have to deal with that. And it'd be some small stuff. Like, it'd be to me, it's very small. So I'm thinking these dudes ain't got a chance because you holding on to so much stuff that happened in your past with these other guys, that this new dude can have that 5% wrong, but 95% right. But he getting cut off for that 5%.
Again, when you know what's for you, you know what's for you. I think aging allows us to get to that point where we don't have to think about it too much. When we're young in our 20s and trying to balance ourselves out and, figure out exactly who we are and eventually get on our path to purpose, that's different because we really don't have a tunnel vision on what we want our life to look like at that point. We're just, whatever comes, and we try to make it fit in, and then we build our life based on what's there, but it's like collecting stuff for your home from a junkyard, as opposed to going to the store and picking out exactly what you want. The junkyard has just got what's there. You accept it and then you try to make it work. When you get a little older, you're more specific. You have the resources you have the knowledge, you're have a little more self-love, and you're like, I want that. And anything's not lining up with that, you don't want. And that's okay, you know? So I don't think it's to a fault. I understand what you're saying for sure. Some people do need to do the healing process. They're not responsible for what happened traumatically to you when you were 5. Because I know people who have been sexually abused and they have problems with having sex in their relationships. And, it's played out on the person they're in relationship with, and it's causing a big strain. Um, so people have to do the healing journey. It's not going to go away just because the situation is in the past. So what you mentioned about just talking, if you want your relationships in any capacity, not just talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, if you want your relationships to work out, because that's going to affect how you trust people.
Oof.
Yes. So you have to do your own journey. You have to do the healing journey for yourself. And that starts with that talking piece.
So I told, for some reason, the last 3-4 months I've been meeting dudes.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, of course, business level.
Of course.
That I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just built different. Where
what you don't understand?
Like for me, your word got to mean something. If you say you're gonna do something for somebody on a particular day, a particular time, if that's not what is concrete and what's gonna happen, don't say it.
Oh yeah.
If you say you're gonna show up somewhere, if you say you're gonna pick, like that's what I've been dealing with lately with my partners and my circles. Like
I deal with it as well.
Your word it got to.
And that just tells me how to categorize you.
Yes.
Like I'm not. You won't hear me call you and go off. You won't, hear me stressed out about it. Like you just gave me the information I need to make an informed decision, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So there was a point in time when I was younger where if somebody didn't do what they said, then of course I would call and go off and, why you lying and you ain't even have to do that. Ain't nobody even asked you to do that. So I reserve my energy for things that I have control over.
That's a key part right there.
Yeah. So what I said earlier, I don't worry about things that are out of my control. I don't worry about anything that's out of my control. If something does not line up with how the plan was going, I go on to the next thing that I have some control over. I do not waste time on trying to figure out what I can't control because I can't control it.
I don't want to slip my mind. Like when you just said, I'd ask you for it. Those are the ones that frustrate me the most.
Oh.
When you call me to tell me what you're going to do and don't do it.
All right.
Them the ones that really hurt
me. And that's something to look for in these relationships when it comes to, I'm sorry, that happened to you.
Yeah.
Empty promises.
Yeah.
Somebody can't keep their word early. Life happens sometimes and it may cause some changes and some switch ups occasionally. But when somebody can't keep their word and they won't even let you know that they can't keep their word. Communication, right? Because life happens. Okay, fine. It didn't happen how we planned. Okay. So
you hit a mark right there.
Yeah. So if somebody's not able to keep their word, pay attention. Do not let it slide.
And just tell people, like, if something going on, give that person the opportunity to either deal with you or not. So basically, if I know I'm supposed to do something on a certain day, if I say, look, Kate, I can't do it Sunday. I got you. I can do it 3 weeks from now. Now I'm giving you the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm either going to continue saying Disco once a week up here at the podcast, or he not going to be able to.
We can be on the same page regardless.
Correct.
We can make a decision together.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's not you taking advantage and just doing whatever you want to do. And then I'm just over here hanging in the wind and you living your life. And I'm waiting to see what's going on. And you like not even going to tell me because you done gone on and lived your life. So a lot of women do that. A lot of men do it too. Without clarity, they think that a situation is something more than what it is. And they just hanging on, waiting. And the other person went on living their life and they seeing 5 other people and you like, just waiting. He paid me some attention or she paid me some attention. Must be something to it. They wouldn't just do that.
You gave them that lifeline still. I tell, like I said on the show, we talk about it with the other women. when you cut a dude off or don't want to deal with him, cut him off.
Mm-hmm.
Like take his phone or take the phone number out your phone.
Oh, you
Block
have
the,
to delete the
just
messages. Like
everything.
once I do that, I can't even contact you
That's
if
what
I
I'm saying.
wanted to.
Correct.
So you got one time to tell me.
Take the lifeline away.
Right, you got one time to tell me that communication wise, I'm doing something you don't like. Oh, thanks for letting me know. It will never happen again. So,
So somebody
and
can
I'm
tell
not
you
gonna be
something.
overbearing or anything like that, but you know, if they like, um, yeah, I don't tell people good morning. Well, if you're trying to talk to me exclusively, you gonna have to tell me good morning.
Mm.
And they're like,
Then
that's too much. That's
that,
too much. My minimum in dating is good morning and good night, and it can't be a text. So you know, you can see what people doing with just that minimum. So you can't string me along if you can't call me on the phone. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of women have and men have these text relationships now, and they got a whole few situations going on because you're not in direct communication with them, and they're able to slip through the cracks to have a lot of other stuff
so
going on.
that's simple. So you can't. So you got dudes out there that you talk to that can't tell you good morning on the phone or good night.
Oh, they refuse.
Wow.
I said my minimum is good morning and good night.
Mm.
I don't do that. That's asking too much. People tell me I'm asking too much. Good morning and good night. It ain't even no money involved. Good morning, good night. You know, because minimally, if you're really concerned about me, you would want to see how I am in the morning. You would want to see if I had a good day at night. If you're minimally concerned with me,
Minimum saying good morning and good night, and they can't do
refuse.
that. Wow.
Yeah, I'm asking too much. So, so imagine the people who aren't asking too much. What they doing?
Oh, excuse me.
Nothing. You know, men and women. Some women. I don't want to just say men. It's some women too who play games.
Yeah.
But the standard of dating, you know, the minimalist movement, it has moved over into dating. It's just a minimalist movement. Like ain't nobody doing nothing. And I'm like, no, thank you. You know, good luck with that, but no, thank you for me.
Like I said, a lot of women come on this platform, and I hear all the complaints, but I didn't know it was. The more I hear, it's like I didn't know it was that bad.
Oh, when you said it's bad, it is bad. When you were speaking earlier in the relationship about men not being men and women not knowing their place to be women. So if you present yourself as I don't need no man in the beginning, I got it going on and I got this and that. Don't be surprised when he does nothing and let you do everything.
Know what? Got to be more careful. We talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
A woman will sit there and be afraid to tell a man. I did a show called "It's Okay."
Okay.
And a woman will be afraid to tell a man she's going through stuff and say, "I don't need you, I don't need you." But all this time, she's going through something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the time when it comes to the point where what she's going through finally surfaced, she mad at him because he didn't take care of it.
And I was thinking of that earlier when I was saying that the older generation goes through stuff and they're like, you don't know what happened to me. Yeah, we don't know what happened because you didn't say it. Yeah. I had a boyfriend who taught me in my early 20s, and he got the bulk of me when I was still immature. I was a good girl, but I was really immature. And he taught me, if nothing else, men are not mind readers.
No.
Because I used to think that certain things were common sense. And I should not have to say them because it is common sense.
To you it
but
is.
Exactly. Everybody's common sense is not the same.
Correct.
Everybody's level of being educated on anything is not the same because they come from different backgrounds. You don't know the pieces of that puzzle. So if you want to be clear on things and you want to be clear on what your expectations are, you have to say those things. Otherwise, it's a guessing game, and men are not mind readers. Women are not mind readers. For instance, if I'm mad at you because you have not called me to say good morning, good night, but I have not told you that my requirement is good morning and good night, and I'm just pissed off, although that should be a natural thing for somebody you're like really into or trying to get into, it should be a natural thing. But even for some people, it's not. You know, they cool with being by themselves 24 hours a day. So it may not be anything that they're doing anything extra. They just cool with being by themselves. They don't have to have those conversations and people around. And you know, I'm almost like that. When I'm on, I'm on. When I'm off, I'm off. But if I don't say I need this, and then you don't do what I need, and then I hold you accountable for not doing what you didn't know I needed, like
Yeah.
they couldn't win. Can't win. So we have to be vocal um about what our expectations are in the beginning. We don't have to accept whatever somebody is offering. I think that's what people get tied into. Um, Back to the young lady that came into the shop this week, which is the person who made me think about love you to death.
Mm.
She is gonna come on eventually, because she had some stories of abuse as well. But she was attending a funeral, the second one in 2 days, and the situation with the person at the funeral, it was a guy, young guy, got shot by his girlfriend, which is his child's mother. Um, but he was beating on her the day of, to the point where, she's all eyes about to come out her head, bloody, and she's beat up pretty badly. It's all on camera. People have cameras in their homes now that catch everything. So it was all on camera. He's beating her, beating her, beating her, and she is like, please stop. And he keeps beating her. There's a gun laying out. If somebody gonna use their gun. So gets to the point, she's like, just please stop. And he does not stop. He continues, like, he's gonna kill her.
Mm.
And she ends up getting the gun before him and still begging him to just, stop. And he continues because that rage is going. And a lot of times when rage takes over, it's like, King Kong or something. And you bent on accomplishing your goal. And his goal was probably to kill her. And they had a relationship that was stemmed in abuse and had been for years. They have a child together. The family knows that, it's an abusive relationship. They're like, leave her alone, leave him alone, but they keep finding their way back to each other. So she ends up shooting him 2 times in the chest and he dies. She's able to not be charged because they have the evidence that he was abusing her. But to just be in a position where your kids witness abuse, which means it's probably going to incite something in them that either they're going to draw closer to it or go as far away as possible from it in their lives. So what happened with the person who was abusing her, he witnessed his father abuse his mother. Um, Stabbed her like 17 times or something. He did some time for that. So it's important to know the background of people in their family, because the apple usually don't fall too far from the tree. That doesn't mean that it can't, because like I said, some people either go to emulate what they saw, or they are like totally opposite from it when it comes to whatever they saw growing up. Um, So yeah, I know a family member who was physically abused growing up, and he's totally opposite. You never got to worry about him putting his hands on nobody, even if they deserve it. So not to say that, because we're taking away the excuse. Because some people, like I said, are looking for that excuse. I'm like this because this happened to me, and they want to hold on to having the excuse. It is not excuse. We do empathize with what happened to you. I think that part is important, to show the abused who have become abusers love as well. A lot of times that's what's happened. The abused um, becomes the abuser. People doing what they know. So it's up to us to determine that we're going to take a different path in life and do all the work necessary to remove those layers that we were talking about earlier that make us who we are, and so we can get back to our pure self. So, ladies and gentlemen, love you to death is a real thing. If somebody's talking about, so we started out the show talking about when people want to be in relationship too quickly. It's usually a trick, to trick you into not knowing what you have until you already got it. It's like buying something blind on the internet. They don't have nothing but that little post up there. They have the little circle, no picture of what it is, and then they give a description, and you go by the description that they gave, and
No,
then you
some
get it.
no, hold on, hold on.
Okay.
I'm agree with you though.
Okay.
But sometimes it's descriptions in there. We just don't take the time to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll say 20 ounce or 50 ounce or 30 ounce.
No,
but
we
it'll
saw what we wanted to see.
Yeah. So sometimes
Oh yeah, and a lot of times it's there.
Red
That's what
flags.
we're saying. Watch for those red flags. Um, but if it's too good to be true, I think that saying is a real thing. I don't think that just fell out the sky. Like,
You scared of that statement.
no, I think that God has something great for me. I think the latter is always better than the past. I'm personally, for me, God has good.
Okay.
He promised it, and I expect it every day, and it happens every day. But I'm just saying that don't have your blinders on just because you want something good. Everything that comes to you ain't for you and ain't good.
Mm.
You know,
Everything look good, ain't good.
definitely is not. I guess last week was talking about how she dated someone who was financially stable that had gotten a deal, but he was abusive. People want what looks good, but it may not be good for you. So
Kind of like a diet, I guess. That butter pecan ain't no good. Look good, ain't good for you.
That's true. That's true. Cause you to be sick. Cause you death. So thank you for joining me today, Disco. Tell us how we can follow you, what you have going on.
I don't know where to start at. Of course, the platform, IG DJ.DISCO100. I'm currently at Play Bistro at Dessert on Powder Springs, Wednesday through Sundays. That's pretty much it.
Okay. You can find me online, Catherine Yancey. Send me the link, please. You can thank you. You can find me online, Catherine Yancey. And Instagram, other social media, Ms. MZ.KDY. I'll be here doing KDY live on Disco 100 Radio, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Peace.